It's now 5:30, so let's all, please don't stand, but let's please say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to welcome our visitor today, our guest speaker, Dan Rakes. He is the Chief Legal Counsel for the Angel Fire Resort. Before we start talking about the resort, Mr. Rakes, could you give us a little background on you?
Absolutely. I'm having some, can you see me now?
Pete Peterson here. I hope I'm connected.
You are, Pete, and we can hear you very well.
All right. I'll go back to mute until I have to open my big mouth, okay?
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'll go ahead and give you a background. I'm assuming everybody can see me now and hear me.
A little light.
Okay. How about now?
That's good.
We had a big windstorm down here. I lost my internet and everything else right before the meeting, as always happens. But I want to thank the Rotary Club, first of all, for allowing the resort to respond to a lot of these crazy allegations that are flying through the community. I want to thank everybody for attending. And you wanted a little background on me, Debbie.
Yes, please.
I was born and raised in New Mexico. My dad was born and raised in New Mexico. I've been coming to the Angel Fire area ever since I was a little boy, fishing in Eagle Nest Lake and baiting my dad's hook with worms. I went to the University of New Mexico Law School. I've been a practicing attorney since September of 1983. Yeah, that tells you how old I am. But I've been a licensed attorney for some 38 years. I came to Angel Fire in November of 1997. It was about a year after the bankruptcy was finalized. And I've been with the resort proudly ever since, almost 24 years. It's some of the greatest people that I've ever met, some of the most competent people. I'll talk a little bit about the ownership, what great people they are, and how fortunate we are to have them as owners of the resort, and how much they've contributed to not just the resort, but the entire Angel Fire community. And I've served on countless committees, the PID, I serve on the PID, I serve on the Vietnam Memorial. I actually did the legal work for the transfer from the memorial to the New Mexico State Parks, where it became a public park, which basically saved the memorial because we were having horrible financial problems at the time. I've served on charter government commissions. I served on Kit Carson EV committees. I serve on the Angel Fire Sportsman and Conservation Club. And that's just a few. I can't remember all of the committees I've served on over the years. A lot of them nonprofits, and a lot of them I set up myself, like the Veterans Healings Group in Angel Fire, which is a significant group doing just great work for veterans coming in and enjoying the mountains and the horseback riding and so forth and so forth. But I've been very involved in the community. I think lots of people know me in Angel Fire. I'm a straight shooter. I recognize some names on the call. It brings back memories, but I've been there a long time. I've been through a lot. I've been to countless AFPO board meetings. I mean, I can't even remember how many board meetings I've spoke at their annual meeting for the members several times. Interestingly, I don't recall seeing any of the present board members at any of those meetings in the past, but in any event, I've also been involved in every one of the litigations that have involved not just the resort, but AFPO. I mean, we constantly have been co-defendants or co-plaintiffs in cases where we've worked closely with AFPO's attorneys and defended both AFPO and the resort. So we've had an excellent relationship over the past 24 years with not only just AFPO, but AFPO's attorneys, and we certainly will call them in court. Anyway, that's a background on me. I didn't want to use my whole 20 minutes. You know how lawyers are. Once you get me rolling, I can't stop. But anyway, I know I have a limited amount of time and certainly want to talk about a few issues.
You have more than 20 minutes. You have the full hour.
Well, we want to make sure we allow some time for Q&A.
You shouldn't have told me that. But anyway, I'll try to keep it to, I actually timed myself this morning and it was 45 minutes and I'm like, oh man, I got to cut this down, but I'd be more than happy to answer questions. I'll talk a little bit about the lawsuit at the end of my presentation. I don't want to get into details of the lawsuit. I think those arguments are better left for the judge. And we certainly will make those arguments to the judge. I feel confident that this is a case that we are going to win. But I will answer the questions the best I can. Again, I don't want to get in arguments with members, but at the same time, I want to try to be as responsive as I can to the members' questions about the resort and what's going on and where we're at. And so anyway. You want me just to continue with the speech or?
Yes, please, Dan. That would be great.
Okay, and there's two particular issues that I think that need to be straightened out. And these are, I mean, there's all sorts of allegations going against the resort. And, you know, when they make these allegations against the resort, they're making it against all the people that work there. And there's some very good people that work there, very competent people, and people that work their butts off for the membership to make it a pleasant place, to make sure that the amenities are in good shape, to make sure that you have a pleasant experience there at the resort. But the two allegations that are probably that need to be addressed is these misconceptions about our ownership, who owns the resort, and I'll talk about that. I've got clearance from the owners. The owners don't like to boast, but I think it's important that the members hear what they've done for this community. As well as I just saw this AMRAC newsletter come out, and at the bottom it says, "Where's our money going to?" And that's just a false allegation. I mean, for the past 25 years, AFPO has gone through our books and certified that we have spent the money as intended on the plan, on the operation, the improvement, and the maintenance of the amenities. And we've gotten a clean bill of health. We've never, even the lawsuit that was filed by AFPO without the members' knowledge and so forth, doesn't allege any sort of wrongdoing or any sort of impropriety. And I'll get into that more. But you got to remember where these allegations are coming from. And this is the group that AMRAC supported. And let's go back, let's rewind this to June of last year, where nine board of directors were elected by the members to serve in the best interest of the members. Well, since then, there's been 8 resignations. Yeah, count them. 8 resignations of the board of directors. Unheard of in AFPO's history. I've never even been on a board where they've had more than 1 or 2 resignations, much less 8 since June of last year. They fired their executive director who had been there 10 years, a very competent individual, a certified public accountant. They fired her. Oh, and by the way, of those 8 people that have resigned, one of them was their own president, Ginger Lagasse. And I know Penny Davies said that she resigned for personal reasons. That's just not true. It's just not true. You know, you got lots of you know Ginger. Ask her the circumstances beyond her, behind her resignation. Um, they got their attorney didn't want to have anything to do with her with this group. Carol Neely, she's been an attorney longer than me, 40 years. If you have attorneys up there at Angel Fire, any personal attorneys that know anybody, any of the attorneys in northern New Mexico, Carol Neely is one of the most respected attorneys in northern New Mexico. I mean, when we have real tough questions, me and somebody else, we always call Carol. I mean, she's one of the smartest people I know. She's very well respected, and AFPO didn't like her opinions. And by the way, she gave several opinions that the past board had posted on their website regarding this NDA issue, this non-disclosure issue, whether or not the resort book should be public. I mean, do you want your personal information out to everybody? Because this board is headed in that direction. Uh, but anyway, she gave a lot of very insightful legal opinions, and basically she was trying to answer all these allegations from this AMRAC group, which nobody knows who it is. Nobody, there's no authors. They don't identify who's in the group. It's just sent out. And I urge you to get to the facts. I mean, the resort put up a membership corner where you can look at the pleadings. They're supported by affidavits. They're supported by legal arguments. We're trying to have a site that the members can go to and get the truth, not these crazy allegations. At the last AFPO board meeting, Penny Davies started off with a statement that rambled on, and then she read Sandra Trom's resignation letter where she blasted the resort, and probably most hurtful to me was when she blasted the resort ownership, saying that this is a greedy corporation taking money from the members for their shareholders. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing could be further than the truth. I mean, that's an absolute lie. And let me go through the facts. Let's go back all the way to the bankruptcy in 1995. This was the biggest bankruptcy in New Mexico history at the time. The biggest bankruptcy in New Mexico history. Buying a company out of bankruptcy is a risky proposition. You can get on the internet and Google how successful Chapter 11 bankruptcies are, but they're successful maybe 20 to 20% of the time. They're very risky. They very rarely succeed. To our credit and to AFPO's cooperation and the resort's cooperation, we've managed to survive for 25 years. And I've had attorneys stand up in court and congratulate me and congratulate AFPO for what a remarkable job we've done to make this work. And the reason we've done that is because we've cooperated and coordinated and compromised and worked things out. But anyway, this comment about the resort corporation, I mean, she painted this picture of this evil company up on the hill just sucking down membership money. Nothing could be further from the truth. For the past 25 years, every year that I have been there, AFPO's always had a budget and finance committee. They signed this simple little non-disclosure agreement, and we open up the entire financial books for AFPO. I mean, they can request any document they want. They can dig in as deep as they want into the resort's books. They could even request the checks that were written, that the resort written to confirm that every penny that the resort has received from the members has been spent pursuant to the plan, and that's the operation, the improvement, and the maintenance of the amenities. And Greg and Tim Allen back in 1995. And let me tell you a little bit about the Allen family. They date back some 40 years to Angel Fire. They've had a house there in Angel Fire for 31 years. They're members just like you are. They pay membership dues just like you are. Uh, they risked their millions in buying the resort out of bankruptcy. Uh, Not only that, but they invested in 2 brand new lifts immediately, right out in 1996, 1997. One of the longest chairlifts in the country. I think it's the second longest chairlift in the country right now, the Chile Express. Uh, they, in those early days, the going was rough. There were times when we couldn't make payroll. I remember those days very vividly because my paycheck was at stake. But the Allens always contributed to the companies that funded the resort to make sure that they were solvent. Uh, and this is very important. For 25 years, they have never taken one penny out of the resort, not one penny. Every penny that has ever been made has been reinvested into the Angel Fire community, into the Angel Fire Resort. So no, this has not been a great investment for them. Trust me. They have never taken a penny out of it. And talk to any investor you want, but there's not many investors that would go 25 years without any kind of return on their investment. But not only have they done that, they've invested even millions more. And we'll talk about the country club that they invested in, that the members only paid less than 10% on. And we'll talk about, there was an insinuation which just made me furious that this new RV resort that was built out on 434 was paid for by membership money. That's just not true. It's just not true. We've never had an issue with APO in the past as far as opening up our books. They simply have to sign an NDA agreement, which is very straightforward, very simple. Their past attorney, Carol Neely, she wrote an opinion that's perfectly proper for the APO board members that are looking at these books to sign this. I talked to a board of director yesterday on the phone who was in charge of doing that for 6 years. And he said, I never got turned down on any document I've ever requested from the resort. So their allegation that we're somehow hiding something is just completely wrong and false. Back to the Allens. The Allen family has invested this money because they love Angel Fire. I mean, their parents had a house here. They've lived here. They love the members. Greg Allen is Tim Allen passed away like 10 years ago. He had a brain tumor and passed away sadly. But Greg Allen has continued the management, the hands-on management of the resort. And he loves coming up here. I pick him up here in Albuquerque. He flies Southwest Airlines. I mean, he's a down-to-earth guy, easy to talk to. But the reason that Angel Fire has succeeded is partly because of the ownership of the resort. And let me give you one more example. The country club. You have this beautiful country club up there. It's I can't believe that it hasn't improved everybody's property values. I mean, it's just a beautiful facility. Under the bankruptcy plan, we only had to provide a clubhouse. I mean, we could have built a small little house where people check in and check out. And APO has basically spent about $1 million on the country club. Well, the country club cost around $15 million to build. That money came from the resort and the Allen family. So when you look at that country club and what it could have been a small little hut where you basically check in and check out, but we wanted we wanted something that everybody in Angel Fire would be proud of. And I am proud of it. And it was one of the last projects that Tim Allen had his hand in before he died. So, any event, I know that Penny Davies said, well, things were so much better 20 years ago. And I about fell out of my chair. Ladies and gentlemen, I was there 20 years ago. We had open sewer ponds in the middle of Angel Fire. They weren't ponds, they were lakes. Where when we had busy weekends, you'd step outside, and if there was no wind, it stunk in Angel Fire. The state was condemning the water or the sewer facilities. And I shouldn't bring this up, but I will. Just as a side note, I remember driving by there one day, and a man and his son were out there fishing in these sewer ponds. And I had to stop and, of course, tell them that's not a place where you're going to catch any fish. But anyway, the lifts were a mess. We had the two triple chair lifts where you had to go halfway up, get off, get in line again, and then go to the top. They were always breaking down. The company that went bankrupt would not even give money for oil changes, so they were falling apart. The ski school was housed in two mobile homes that were stuck up there and in the trees, and they had rats in there the size of dogs. I mean, I was always worried every year that one of those rats was going to eat one of our ski instructors. I'm not kidding you. But anyway, we managed to build a new ski school, build a top-notch facility, managed to replace those lifts. The country club at the time was just a mess. I mean, the country club had its day. I mean, my brother worked for the corporation for some 15 years, my big brother, and he was in charge of food and beverage. And, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, they had people coming in from all the communities for the big dance at the Angel Fire Country Club. And, you know, it rock and rolled. I remember those days. But it was tired. You know, it was tired. It was worn down, falling apart. It smelled in there. It was just time for a new country club. And 20 years ago, I can't imagine anybody saying that there has not been improvements. I mean, and I could go down the list of the amount of improvements we've done to the lake, the tennis courts, and we've worked closely with AFPO. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but right below the country club, there was an old beat up tennis court, like right next to hole number 1. And we got together with AFPO and agreed to tear that out and make a nice chipping and putting green there, which you've probably seen if you golf there in Angel Fire. And then we built another tennis court down in Oley Park. So they have, 4 now, or 3 or 4 tennis courts. There used to be a petting zoo, believe it or not, that we were supposed to maintain. Of course, we immediately worked with AFPO and changed that into into stables, horse stables. And we've done improvements, of course, to the RV park there with new bathrooms and washers and dryers. The lake has seen lots of improvements. There's bathrooms out there now and nice trails that people can use. The tennis courts, they were just a mess 20 years ago. That's why when Penny Davies said that, I just about fell out of my chair, because you can't even compare what Angel Fire was like. I mean, Country Club Drive was a dirt road going up there. We worked with the village, and they got grant money, and we covered their match to make that a paved road. The Back Basin Road was improved. We worked with the village on that. All of the sewer and water utilities were turned over to the village in 1997 or 1998, I believe. We donated the land that the sewer facility and solid waste facility now are located. That was some 50 acres. We've donated land to the Allen Fields, Suter Library. Let's see what else. The charter school. We've made lots of donations to the charter school to keep them going. And I tell you this because we just get this this label of these folks up on the hill that are this evil empire, just taking your money and not doing anything with it. There couldn't be anything further from the truth. And you can rest assured that when this is all said and done and all the evidence is shown to the judge, he's going to agree with us that the resort and APO for the past 25 years have done everything correctly and followed what the bankruptcy plan has said. I mean, the bankruptcy plan is pretty straightforward. It requires the resort to open, operate, maintain, and improve the amenities. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the resort for, I mean, look at the last year, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, in a pandemic year, the resort was able to open the amenities and open the amenities on time. Yes, we had restrictions with masks and we were limited on how many people we could have up on the ski hill, even though we prioritized the members and they got priority in the 25% we were allowed to begin with. But I can tell you of over the 100, I think at least over 100,000 guests that have come to Angel Fire, not one single infection. So not only did we manage to get this open, we managed to get this open that was safe to you. And that was our goal. I mean, we were on the phone with when this first broke out and we were coming up on the mountain biking season and opening up the golf course. We were on the phone nonstop with the governor's staff, working with them. We submitted our own plan of how we were going to do this with masks, social distancing, and so forth to keep people safe. This is before the state even put out their own CSPs. I mean, and it was a remarkable success. And we didn't get one citation. I mean, during the winter, we were required to test our employees twice a month. I mean, it cost over $100,000 to do all those tests. We did over 2,000 tests on our employees. I think we had 2 or 3 positives, and those 2 or 3 positive of our employees came from, you know, their family or outside of the resort, did not come from within the resort. So we were very proud of that accomplishment. And toward the end of the ski season, of course, they lifted that testing requirement. We didn't have to do that. I can tell you, Mark Manley was on speed dial with the governor's staff, and they know him by first name, and I think they got tired of him calling. But right before President's Weekend, we were calling him and saying, "Look, we think you need to increase the 25% to 33% because Colfax County has gone green." And apparently the state had overlooked that. And sure enough, they increased the number of people that we could get on the mountain from 25% to 33%. So a lot more people were able to enjoy the mountain, get up there and ski or snowboard or Nordic skiing, or whatever they like. So I think I've covered the 2 allegations that concern me the most. The one is about the ownership. We are so fortunate to have Greg Allen. I've personally formed a relationship with Greg Allen. He and the Allen family. They're some of the nicest people you ever want to meet in your life. And they're down to earth, and they care about the members, and they care about Angel Fire. And they have helped increase the value of your properties. I can tell you that we've been working 2 years on developing plans to redevelop the base area. as well as other projects that are very, very exciting. We were getting ready to roll these out to AFPO before everybody resigned, and we didn't feel we wanted to do it with the group they have now. But we have been in close contact with the village of Angel Fire. I can tell you one thing in my 24 years of being there, that Angel Fire doesn't work unless you have 3 people on board. You have to have AFPO, the village, and the resort. And when you have those 3 folks working together, it's just amazing what can get done for the Angel Fire community. But if one of them falls out, whether it's the village suing AFPO, whether it's the village suing the resort suing the village, nothing happens. Everything just stalls. And it's unfortunate for the members. It really is. Because these development plans we've worked so hard on, and we've gotten to the point where John Kitts is meeting with architects next week in Dallas. I mean, we've gotten down to the specific plans of what we're going to build, and it's going to be a huge project to redo the entire base area. And we put a lot of work into this, and I think this is something that everybody's going to be excited about. It's going to increase values of your properties. And let's face it, the base area is old and worn out, and it needs to be replaced and redesigned and redeveloped. With that said, I'll talk a little bit about the lawsuit. I don't want to go, like I said, I don't want to go into great detail simply because we'll save our arguments for the court. This is a very destructive lawsuit. This is going to destroy the Angel Fire community if this continues. Trust me, it is going to. We have neighbors pitted against neighbors. Although I talked to a guy the other day, he said, no, he said the local people are united against the current board, trying to get them out of there. But this is not good for the community. We're hearing about real estate sales that are being lost because of it. We're personally getting calls from finance companies who are worried about financing properties up there in Angel Fire because of what's going on. Thank goodness they haven't pulled the plug on that, because if they do, you can just kiss this beautiful real estate market goodbye if people can't finance. And again, it's just not good for the community at large. And I got to tell you, I mean, think about this, and I'll close with this. I don't know how long I've gone, but I'll close with this, because I think it's important to look back for 25 years and ask yourself, why all of a sudden that this group is interpreting these documents differently than the past 25 years, boards, attorneys, the bankruptcy court. I got to tell you that I've been through a lot of litigation at the resort with people suing us. I mean, we're a big target. Nobody has made the arguments that this group is making. I mean, that's how far-fetched it is. And ask yourself, has the resort beaten up AFPO for 25 years? Talk to board members. I mean, I have personal relationships with not just the attorneys that AFPO has had, but with board members. These have been some great people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, and nurses, and homemakers. And they work hard to on behalf of the members, the boards that I've worked with in the past. And do you think for 1 minute that if the resort was trying to hide the ball or misinterpreting the documents that we've all followed for all these years, and by the way, not only was this the biggest bankruptcy in New Mexico history, it's been the most successful bankruptcy in New Mexico history. I mean, maybe even in the region or the country. I mean, these things just don't succeed very often, and we should all be proud of that. And I'll go back to at the very beginning of the bank, after the bankruptcy, the APO brought the resort before the bankruptcy judge and over some release language, liability release language, that the resort's insurance company was required, but APO didn't want their members to sign it. So they hauled the resort before the bankruptcy judge. And the judge was Judge Stuart Rose. And we're going to post the transcript, but he basically lectured both APO and the resort and said, look, I can't do this for you. I can't fix all these problems for you. This bankruptcy is designed for you to cooperate and compromise and resolve your problems. This is not an adversarial relationship. It is not. And unfortunately, the current group thinks it is, and they think that everything we do is bad and ugly and we're horrible people. It's just not true. This bankruptcy is very unique. It requires the cooperation of APO and the resort to resolve their own problem. And I got to tell you, ever since that lecture from Judge Rose, and of course he articulated it just beautifully from the bench, never even ruled on the matter before him. We have done that. We have done that. And you should be proud that APO, as well as the resort, has managed to make this work for so many years. I mean, I've never even received a nasty letter from one of APO's attorneys, except for this last this last group. And then even then, I called him up after he was hired by this new group, and I said, look, I've worked well with past attorneys. I'll provide you anything you need. We've always been able to sit down and talk through things and make things work for both parties. And then the next thing I know, I got an email with a copy of the complaint. I didn't even get a call. And APO didn't notify the members. It wasn't even on their agenda for the meeting. We notified the members that they had filed a 175-page lawsuit. And of course, the latest is that they've gone all year saying that there's 6 open seats for the upcoming election. And they just changed it one day to, oh, there's only 3 open seats available for the election now. They were sued Monday in district court by a group of the candidates seeking a temporary restraining order, as well as a permanent restraining order. They have not followed their bylaws, although they want to impose the bylaws on the resort, but they don't want to follow their own bylaws when it serves their needs. So now they're looking at 2 lawsuits. I know of at least 2 other groups that are getting ready to sue them, either as a group or even individually. That's how upset people are. So with that, I'll close. I did want, I don't know if we have time. I know that Penny was allowed to have her board members talk a little bit. And I have Mark Manley on the line. I don't know if it's appropriate for him to say a few words, but if it's okay. Mark, are you on there?
I am, Dan.
Well, you want to say a few things?
Yeah, thanks. I don't want to take up a lot of everyone's time, but I just want a quick, my background. I was in-house counsel at Vail Resorts for a long time and general counsel at Telluride. I've worked in the ski resort industry my whole life. My first job was when I was 15, running a rope tow. It's been my life. And I've seen a lot of different resort towns struggle When I came here to start working for Dan and working for this resort, I'd been in Vail my whole, basically my whole professional career. I haven't regretted the move even for a second. I love this place, and I know that its future is going to be bright. We're going to get past this, but I want to point out just one thing that I think people here took for granted. Dan had mentioned that the resort here prioritized the members and guaranteed their ability to ski and to access the mountain, access the amenities throughout this last very challenging year. Our members never had to reserve a spot to ski, to get involved in any of that kind of stuff. I checked in on my friends up north. There's, you can imagine, right? Vail, it's a behemoth. They've got all different kinds of memberships up there. There's memberships up there that cost $250,000 just to enter. Every single one of those members, no matter what it was, they still had to get in line and register to ski. We prioritized our members. Can you imagine paying $250,000 to be a member where you have to get right in line behind everybody else coming up I-70 from Denver in order to ski? One of the things that kind of gets lost in the animosity, the current animosity, is the fact that, this resort cares a great deal about its members. And, that one action, Dan's right. I was communicating with the governor's office regularly. They were getting sick of hearing from me. And it was to ultimately to try to provide the best guest experience and member experience that we possibly could. And I agree with Dan, and I am very proud of the fact that we were able to get through the entire season very successfully. And in fact, I keep track of how my friends in the industry are doing, and they are struggling. Absolutely. And I think this resort's done a very good job and should be given some kudos for the fact that it enjoyed a successful season despite a pandemic and a lawsuit. And like I said, I do see this coming to a conclusion, a resolution, and hopefully brighter pastures for the resort, the community, and all the members. But otherwise, there's not a lot I can add to what Dan has said. And, I do think that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it behooves everybody to just look at the actions and not some of the nonsense. But again, thanks for your time.
Mark, thank you. And thank you, Dan. I'm going to cut this off now, though, and try to get a few of these questions answered. We do have some questions that have come into the chat session, so I'm going to address those first. If there's anybody on the call who wants to ask a question verbally, you can raise your hand and we will acknowledge you.
I can't raise my hand, Debbie. I'm here. I'm an old timer. I'm just on the phone, so I would like to ask a question if you can squeeze me in later.
Well, go ahead, Pete. We'll let you ask your question.
Yes. Dan and Man, I agree with everything you said, and I think your talks were very good. But my question is, shouldn't AFPO be entirely separate from the resort?
Yeah.
Is that succinct enough for you?
Yeah, and they are separate. I mean, they're a nonprofit group that was, the only reference to them in the bankruptcy is they took the place of the property owners committee that was representing the property owners during the bankruptcy. And by the way, the property owners got to vote on the bankruptcy plan and supplemental declaration. But it basically said that AFPO would be set up. Uh, so to answer your question, that they are separate, but at the same time, we're joined at the hip. I mean, let's face it, and we have to make this work together. Uh, yeah, Apple has rights under the plan. They have a negative easement. I mean, the resort can't turn uh, the ski hill into an amusement park. We can't do anything that changes the character of any of the amenities. And if we do, Apple has the right to go into court or arbitration to make sure that we're stopped. Apple has a right to look at our budget, to have an advisory role in that, and that's always filed. If there's something in that budget that is earmarked for something other than the amenities, they have the right to veto that budget, although that's never been done in 25 years. Apple this year decided they were going to just create their own budget and try to impose that on the resort, which is just absurd. I mean, it's just crazy. Uh, but so to answer your question, and I don't mean to be flippant or trying to dodge your question or be a politician, the answer is yes and no. Uh, but they do have certain rights under the plan that they can haul the resort into court if we're doing something that's contrary to the amenities, or if we're doing Hawaii trips on membership dollars, or going to Costa Rica or something. I mean, they certainly have the right to veto that part of the budget. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, the relationship between APO and the resort has been good for the most part. I mean, I can tell you, you should talk to some of the presidents. There's always board members on there that have been unhappy. I mean, there's 9 of them. They're not going to get 100% consensus on every single question, but for the most part, we've worked with every single one of these board members and resolved our issues. And but they do have certain rights under the bankruptcy plan. The resort is required to, operate and improve and maintain and keep these amenities open. In turn, the members are to pay their membership dues. The resort collects those membership dues. APO has a group that comes in and looks at our books to make sure those membership dues are spent on the amenities. And I can tell you the history of even before the resort was involved, because I can tell you that it was bad, because the old corporation was spending money on lobbyists to get gambling in Angel Fire. They were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and giving legislator trips and trying to lobby for different things. It was a very uneven and unfair structure. I mean, Debbie might pay, $200, where Brenda, we may charge you $600. So the bankruptcy straightened all that out and said, there's going to be one membership fee. And we're going to make sure that every penny of this money is spent on the amenities and not some outside crazy stuff. But to answer I hope I answered your question. I went on too long, I know.
Yeah, very well, Dan. Thank you.
Sure.
So Dan, one of the questions in the chat, and the voting for the new board members is going to be coming up here real soon.
Right.
But this is something that clearly needs to be hashed out quickly because of the confusion on how many new board members do we vote for. And one of the questions also is related to the list that will be provided, because there's been battles all year on whether or not AFPO has been given access to the member listing. And if a third party is going to be conducting this voting, who will be providing the list to the third party? Will they get the email list from the resort, or will they be getting it from AFPO?
They've gotten it from the resort. We gave it to them day before yesterday. It has all the members in good standing. They've had this list all along. I mean, we gave this list. They couldn't have conducted the last election without this list. I mean, I know they claim this over and over and over. We don't have a database. Well, they've had the database. I've given it 3 times. I gave it to Ginger Legacy, but she resigned. Linda,
I think they're arguing about what data fields they're getting. They're not getting enough information about the members, like their physical address and their mailing address. They're not getting enough data about each member. But at any rate, that, as you mentioned, that's to be resolved
what,
to the
what
court.
they have been given is the member's name, the mailing address, the email address, and whether or not the member is in good standing, as well as the member number. I know they're going to a third party this year, and that is the information that was requested from us. And as we have done for the past 25 years, when they've conducted an election, we provided that information, and they've had it
Okay.
all along.
Okay, now the other question has to do with what you see the role of AFPO being in the future, and what should the relationship be between AFPO and the resort? And I think you've already addressed some of that, but if you could state that directly.
Sure. I mean, that relationship is defined by the bankruptcy court, and we should be working together. We've worked together, like I said, on green belts and moving tennis courts and the stables and so forth.
Right.
And so forth. So we should work together on making Angel Fire a better place. I mean, AFPO gets discretionary money every year where they can designate projects for, it's 4%, and they can designate projects for everything from new mats on the driving range to electrical components up on the ski hill, or more fish or whatever they want. I mean, that's up to them. I mean, we barely got a budget like a week ago from them.
Mhm.
We have no projects that have been designated. So I don't know what this current board is doing. They claim they haven't gotten this and that, but rather than sign an NDA, they've chosen to go to court to fight over something as silly as that, which cost them, what, $70,000? And instead, they have a protective order, which is way worse. I mean, I heard one of the board members say, well, I'd rather be under a protective order. Ask your personal attorney, would you rather be under a protective order or sign an NDA? I mean, an NDA is it's a very simple document. You basically agree not to disclose that information. You're under a protective order in court, boy. If you violate that, you're in contempt of court and you can go to jail. So
Mhm.
you can make up your mind as to why in the world. And by the way, we agreed to a protective order before they filed their motion, and they still filed it. But anyway,
Mhm.
I don't want to get into the litigation.
Okay. Now there have been rumors, and you talked about this, that you've already started making plans for the improvements to the base area. But have the capital improvements on the base area been put on hold due to the lawsuit?
We continue, let me put it this way. We continue to plan. We continue to get ready to pull the trigger on this. I could see this having an effect, a negative effect on these plans, depending on the outcome of this litigation, which is, I mean, this isn't even scheduled for trial for 15 months. I mean, this is going to be, this is going to cost AFPO hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to cost the resort hundreds of thousands of dollars. And ladies and gentlemen, this is money that should be going into improving the amenities and Angel Fire. But we don't choose the people that sue us. I mean, we have to defend ourselves. And now they're in another litigation. It's going to even cost them more, which you are paying for. You know, this is members' money. So anyway, to answer your question, we're not sure how it's going to affect. I could see it affecting it, but we're still planning and trying to move forward and trying to keep a positive spin. We want to do this for Angel Fire. We think we need to do this. We think it'll make a huge improvement to the facilities up there. I mean, you all have been to the base area. It's just tired, worn out. I mean, the original the Village House building, to give you a little history, was a temporary barn that was put up there years ago, and it was supposed to be up there for one season, and it's been up there ever since. I've been there for 24 years.
Well, one of the major complaints by the current AFPO board that caused the trouble in the first place, from what I understand, is that because so many board members resigned and the remaining board members had to appoint new board members, in other words, they weren't officially elected by the membership, they were appointed by the existing board, that the resort simply refused to work with the AFPO board, even though in the AFPO bylaws, they were perfectly legitimate in assigning those new board members. So let's just go to the current state. Right now, we're arguing about how many board members we're going to vote on. Are you at least working with the AFPO board and communicating with them to try to get this resolved? Because the election is right around the corner.
That's not our lawsuit. I mean, that's a lawsuit that was filed by the candidates. They have filed a separate lawsuit. That's not even in our lawsuit. But to go back to your question that we said we wouldn't cooperate, we pointed out that what their bylaws did state, which said a majority, Judge Chavez ruled against us on that because of a New Mexico statute, a New Mexico law. But go back, you can look at my letters that were posted in our members' corners, and we made it clear that we were going to continue to provide the information and continue to do business as usual. We never said we would not cooperate with them or do anything because of what we felt was a lack of quorum. I mean, the boards before them have always required at least 6 members attend before they would have a quorum. And these 4 people appointed, of course, and I think Mark Manley wants to add something. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add into this because it's been, this keeps coming up and I'm not really sure why, because, if you all were on the board meetings in the past, you heard Penny Davy herself read an acknowledgement prior to the board meeting that stated that AFPO and the resort were going to continue to work together, and that by doing so, neither party waived anything in terms of the lawsuit. And so there's that narrative completely belies the fact that counsel from both sides reached an agreement together that we'd continue to work in light of the lawsuit. We have given AFPO the financial information that it's been requesting, other than what we would provide had it simply signed the NDA. And we don't need to retread that particular issue. Dan spelled it out. They're going to get all that information now that we would have happily given them pursuant to an NDA. They're simply going to get that information now under a more draconian protective order. Which again, we kind of blew right through that. We offered that in the beginning to Mr. Walcott. He rejected that, went forward with his motion to compel. And now we find ourselves where we're at after $70,000 or more spent of your money. You're getting the information that we had agreed to provide you pursuant to an NDA first, then to a protective order second, that now the judge has imposed himself. Again, this narrative that we're somehow not forthcoming is completely false, totally belies the agreement between counsel. But I just want to be as concise as possible. That is just not true.
Debbie, Dane Williams has raised his hand and has a question.
Go ahead, Dane. Make sure you have unmuted yourself.
Yes, thank you. My question goes on, and I've been following this whole issue for quite some time. First of all, I'm excited that we've got a group of candidates that are willing to run for the positions that are open. One of the candidates, and it may be the entire group, but I don't want to push that on the entire group, has stated that they would be willing to allow a third party to come in and evaluate the claims, both of the resort and of AFPO, related to this lawsuit and see if it couldn't be resolved amicably. which quite honestly should have been done before the lawsuit was filed, but that's, as they say, water under the bridge. There's already been a lawsuit. It is in place now. But if we would allow a third party to do an evaluation on behalf of both parties to see if who's alleging what is correct or not, if that couldn't be amicably discussed, and would the resort be willing to do that if we were to push off and get rid of the lawsuit that's hanging over everybody and is causing a lot of issues?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We
And you'd be able
we
to
would, we would welcome that with open arms. I mean,
and if they found that you weren't providing, and again, I don't know that, I know the issues, I can't say who's right and who's wrong, which is the real issue. Everybody's pointing fingers.
He was the person that the crowd was referring to when they said they wanted to hang him. They wanted to execute him in public. And again, like, you know, I think there's this sense on the part of a lot of Republicans of like, they didn't mean it. This is, you know, they didn't get it carried off. So like, who cares?
Maybe lay off the Fox News.
I do know, however, his own brother voted against the commission today, which says a lot about the Republican Party.
Who's talking? I'm not
A lot
sure.
about the Republican Party, probably also says a lot about the Pence family. But yes, he has been AWOL. He's given a few speeches.
No clue what is going on here at this point.
All the people who chanted for his death. On my show,
Debbie.
Chris, I'm sure you have too, played that image many times of him with his family, wife and daughter fleeing from that chamber.
Debbie,
His
mute
tape
everybody.
was played at the impeachment.
Hey, Janet.
I got it.
Not sure who that was, but it wasn't me.
Thank you.
They were discussing another political issue.
Yes, I was trying to figure out, are they talking about the resort or what? But anyway, Dane, to answer your question, yeah, we welcome that. And this group has talked to us and said, you know, would you be willing to do that? We said, absolutely. I mean, you know, we will open up our books. I mean, you can talk to the people who formed these plans, talk to the judge, talk to the trustees and see what the intent of the plan was, and talk to the past board members. I mean, they've really insulted a lot of the people in the community that worked hard on these boards, and basically claimed that they've breached their fiduciary duty to the members. And that's just unfortunate that they've taken that tact, because yeah, but we've already talked to them about that, and we've told them that, and they've said maybe a town hall open up to address every one of these allegations one by one. And we said, absolutely, we're all for that, and we want to be as transparent as possible, and we'll open up our books to any CPA they want to bring in for the last 20 years, and we have nothing to fear. I mean, we have nothing to hide.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's good to hear you say that, but I know there's still members on the AFPO board that still feel they do not have an adequate database of members. And there's still quite a debate over how many positions need to be elected at the election. And I really wish the people would just sit down and discuss it and make an agreement, and so that we members vote on who we should vote on. And that the new members of the AFPO board not just be people that the resort has put up to run for the AFPO board, that they truly represent the membership.
Debbie, we haven't put up anybody to run.
Hey, this is Kim May, and I am so frustrated hearing people say that. The board did not ask me to run. I am not running, and the resort did not ask me to run, and I am not running for the resort. And I want to make that very clear, because people are speaking for me and they are putting words in my mouth that are not true. So I'm stopping it right here. I'm running because I care about what's happening. I am completely appalled that it can get this far and neighbors could hate on each other. And so I'm running for the homeowners, and I just want to stop you there. The resort didn't put me up. Don't say it again.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm just telling you what people are saying in the community, what I'm hearing. And I'm glad to hear you say that, Kim. That's wonderful.
Okay, Debbie, it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, we're 5 minutes past 6:30, and I really want to thank you, Dan and Mark, for presenting all the good things that the resort has done. We in the community definitely know that the resort has done a lot of good stuff, and there's been a lot of improvements to this community. I have personally lived here 11 years, and in those 11 years, I've seen these improvements and really appreciate them. So Brenda, I'm going to turn this back over to you, and we're going to close our meeting the traditional way that we close Rotary meetings, and you can hear what our values are. And before I do that, I would like to invite everybody who's on the call to visit other Rotary meetings. Consider joining Rotary. Our motto is service above self. We do a lot of wonderful community service projects within the community and globally. And if you are interested in joining, please let us know and sign up for some of our other meetings. Right now, we are still holding our meetings by Zoom, but in the summertime, we hope to be able to start face-to-face meetings again. So Brenda, can you close us out, please?
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a very interesting discussion, and I appreciate the participation of Mark Manley and Dan Rakes. I learn something new every time I hear a different point of view. And we all need to understand the different points of view. Nobody's wrong. It's just a perception issue. Nobody's evil, just all part of the same human race, and we need to get along.
Well said, Brenda.
The way we always end our meetings, Gordon, I'd like you to take lead on this, if you would.
Okay, in Rotary, we have something that's called the four-way test. It's the things we think, say, and do. And number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number four, will it be fair to all concerned?
Beneficial.
Beneficial, okay.
Good job, Gordon.
And due to a prior president, we always add, make it fun. Because if it's not fun, nobody's going to play with you. So thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you.